today's video, we'll be looking at scary true crime TikToks that will leave you speechless.
Is this your chin, Mama? Do this and put it on your chin. Oh.
This is Saman Sacharvi and her daughter, Vianne Mangrio. Sadly, they are no longer here with us today. They lived in Burnley, UK. They had a beautiful, loving mother and daughter relationship. Vianne's father living in Pakistan. Vianne was only 14, but both her parents were very proud of her because she already had plans to go to Cambridge and study law. Saman had hired a man named Shabazz Khan to do some handiwork around the house, but he did more than just handiwork on the day of October 1st, 2020. The bodies of Saman and Vianne were found when police decided to go to their house for a welfare check. Police launched an investigation and found that the handyman on CCTV was there that day. 52-year-old Shabazz Khan was then arrested. He had laced Saman's rose wine with diazepam before ultimately strangling her. A little while after that, at 3:25 p.m., Vianne was coming home from school, and when she arrived into the house, Khan drugged her and ended her life too. To throw him off as the suspect, Khan tried to make it look like the bodies were set on fire by the tea kettle, but had trouble doing so. So instead, he started to write on the wall, "COVID-19 and my mom is evil," to make it look like the two mother and daughter didn't like each other and had a falling out. Luckily for autopsy, it showed that that wasn't the case, and that Saman passed away from pressure on her neck while her daughter's body was so badly burnt that they could only say that she died of asphyxiation. In Khan's loft, they found jewelry worth 27,000 pounds that belonged to Saman. Khan was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 34 years, while his wife, who also tried to lie about his whereabouts to the cops, was jailed for 30 months. Always be careful on who you allow in your home.
I kind of feel like that sentence was a little bit light, don't you think?
Is this guy a hero, or is he a terrible monster? This guy's name is Steve Sanderson. He's a guy who's currently serving a life in prison sentence for the 1991 murder of his girlfriend. And in 2015, he just happened to get a new cellmate, a man named Theodore Dyer. Now, this guy was sentenced to prison because he did unspeakable things with a 9-year-old girl. And he was trying to hide that fact from the other prisoners. But being his new cellmate, Steven found out right away what Theodore Dyer was in prison for. And while they were alone in their cell together, this guy was trying to explain his situation, saying he was framed. Steven told him to be quiet, and the next day he would have to find a new cell. Well, the guy kept talking, and Steven had just about enough. So Steven punched him in the face a few times, took off his shoelaces, and then strangled him and ended his life. The court gave him one more life sentence, but it wouldn't have mattered because he already had a life sentence. While in court, Steven said about Theodore Dyer, "I didn't judge him. The only judge is God. I just set up the appointment."
He said, "I just set up the appointment." Wow. What is this? Tusk? Oh no, this is some creepy stuff. They done turned him into a walrus?
Mr. Tusk. How I've missed our merry times together on Ponder Rock.
You will not believe who the killer was.
Yo, could you imagine that, right? Someone kidnaps you and they turn you into that, right? And you ain't got no choice but to live like that. You know, he probably not going to knock you off. He's not going to end it right there for you. He's going to make you suffer. So you got to live the rest of your life just like that. And you have no choice. That would be crazy. I kind of want to see that movie now.
Was in this child murder case. It was August in 1993 in New York when 4-year-old Derek Roby was making his way to summer camp. He only lived 1 block away, and his mum claims that this was the first time she'd ever let him walk anywhere on his own. Tragically, that afternoon, Derek's remains were found. He was discovered in the nearby woods about halfway between his house and his intended destination. He'd been lured from the pavement, strangled and beaten with rocks. Whoa. Disturbingly, he'd been SA'd with a stick. It's also worth noting that when he was found, he had Kool-Aid poured all over his body. Bizarrely, 4 days later, 13-year-old Eric Smith offered to help police with the case. When police questioned him, he initially claimed to not have seen Derek that day, but he then did keep changing his story. Now, when Eric's dad attended the police station to see what was going on, he offered Eric some Kool-Aid. Eric reacted very bizarrely to this and threw the Kool-Aid on the floor. At this point, police were very suspicious of Eric, and they also found out from neighbours that he'd been asking very strange questions. These were questions all about DNA evidence and also what would happen if they found that a child had killed Derek. Shortly after, Eric did confess to the killing. He claimed that it was because of his anger about being bullied by other kids. At the age of 13, he was convicted of second-degree murder. This is a more recent picture of Eric, and he was actually released from prison in February of this year.
The Teletubbies conspiracy theory claims that the show was inspired by events in a Bulgarian mental facility called La La Land.
So they're saying Teletubbies is real?
Psychotic children were purportedly isolated in dark rooms, and apparently 4 children who died on the same day inspired the characters in Teletubbies.
No way.
Lala's facial disfigurement and 5 years of isolation inspired Lala. Tuatay, a deaf, facially deformed child, was tied to the fence outdoors and frostbitten, inspiring Tinky Winky. Donka, starving and unwell, inspired Dipsy by lying in his vomit for days.
These Teletubbies look
Ultimately,
creepy, man. These pictures are
Paulina
wild.
fell into a fire and was roasted alive, inspiring Poe. So why are they called the Teletubbies? The children's main source of comfort were the television sets in their rooms.
Teletubbies,
And when they
television.
got word that the mental institution was getting rid of them, the children concocted a plan to hide the TVs. The children would rip out their insides to hide the miniature TV sets that were too big to swallow, only to be found dead by the returning caregivers the next morning.
I don't know how true that is, but that's crazy.
This is the case of 16-year-old Susana Morales and how a police officer has been accused of murdering her. On Tuesday, July 22nd, 2022, 16-year-old Susana Morales went to go visit a friend that lived nearby. This friend lived in the Sterling Glen Apartments, which was near Susana's home on Santa Ana Drive. Susana would normally walk to this friend's house, so this was a route that she had taken many times. She left her home at around 6 p.m. and was at her friend's house for a couple of hours. At around 9:40 p.m., Susana texted her mother Maria and told her that she was on her way home. Again, this should have taken her a very short amount of time since they lived so close. It should have taken her about 10 minutes. However, when 10 minutes went by, Susana was still not home. Maria began texting and calling Susana to see if everything was okay, but she never got a response back. The family continued to try and get in contact with Susana, but at about 9 a.m. the following morning on July 27th, the Morales family called the police department and reported Susana as missing. However, the police department told the family that they didn't believe Susana was missing or that she was in any type of danger. In fact, they told the family that she was most likely a runaway. They also told them that they needed to wait 48 hours before officially reporting her as missing.
Yo, pause. How many cases do you think are just like this, right? Kind of like a cover-up, you know what I mean? Like, wow, that's crazy. They're talking about you gotta wait 48 hours? Like, who's gonna wait 48 hours when a child goes missing? I'm not. It's like stories like these make you just want to go live in a box with your loved ones and never do anything, you know, because people are crazy and they do stupid, crazy stuff.
Now, the family knew that Susana would not voluntarily leave. Things were great at home. She had a loving family. She had loving sisters, loving parents, a boyfriend, and it just wasn't like her to go completely MIA. So the family took the investigation into their own hands and they started going around the community asking if anyone had seen Susana the night that she disappeared. And someone did. One of their neighbors caught security camera of Susana walking home. Now, this neighbor's house was very close to the Morales house. It was literally just a 1-minute walk. You can see Susana wearing a yellow tank top, light blue jeans, and white Crocs. She was walking by herself on the route that she would normally take to go back home. However, somewhere between her neighbor's house, which was just a minute away, and her house, something happened. Family showed this footage to the police because it clearly shows that Susana was not running away. She had her phone on her hand and she was literally walking home. So police looked at this footage and they decided to look at her phone records to see if it could ping a location. Phone records showed that between 10:07 and 10:21 p.m., Susana was walking in the direction of her house on Singleton Road. Then between 10:21 p.m. and 10:26 p.m., her phone indicated that she was in the area of Oak Lock Trace and Steve Reynolds Boulevard. After that, her phone either died or was turned off. After discovering this information, there really wasn't any serious movement in Susana's case. It literally took police a month to put out a statement letting people know that Susana was missing, but at this time, they still considered her a runaway. However, that would all change on February 6, 2023. This is when the remains of 16-year-old Susana Morales were discovered along Highway 316 between Drowning Creek and Barrow County. And next to Susana's remains, police found When police checked the serial number, it came back as belonging to 22-year-old Miles Bryant. And it turns out that Miles was actually a police officer. Okay, more in part 2.
Wow. See, it'd be your own people. The ones that's
Don't be
supposed to protect
fooled by
you.
the smile. This guy is one of the biggest dickheads to ever live on this planet. This asshole's name is Nicolae Ceausescu.
Oh, he don't like this guy. He already done called him 2 names. So He don't like this guy. Let's see how many more he calls him.
He was the dictator of Romania from 1964 to 1989, and because of this prick's horrible economic policies, his country was drowning in debts. In Ceausescu's mind, the best way to combat this was to tell his own citizens to make more babies. In his mind, more babies meant more people in the workforce. Romanian citizens listened to this guy, and before long, they had more babies than they knew what to do with. Parents couldn't take care of so many children, so orphanages ended up getting really overcrowded. In some orphanages, these kids were literally not even being fed because this useless sack of shit refused to allocate enough funds towards these orphanages. This is only one of the many atrocities this fucker committed. So it's no surprise that in 1989, him and his wife were both executed by firing squad by Romanian citizens for crimes against humanity.
Okay, this appears to be one of the weirdest true crime stories in history.
Let's see, because there's a lot of them.
It's one that totally flew under the radar, at least in the United States, because of when it happened and where it happened. Back in early 2017, two separate women in two separate countries were both approached by men saying they wanted to film a series of prank videos for YouTube. One was from Vietnam, one was from Indonesia. They were paid a small amount of money for this, although it wasn't a small amount of money to them. The prank was that they would run up to strangers in public places and smear some sort of lotion or baby oil or something on their faces, and then apologize and run away, or kiss them on the cheek and run away, and that was the prank. And they did this over and over and over again, getting specific direction from the guys who hired them on how to dress, on exactly where to smear the cream, that kind of thing. They did it, they got paid, everything seemed fine, they assumed these videos were going up somewhere. In February of 2017, each of the women were told, hey, we're going to bring in a partner. The two of you are going to work together on this one. It's at Kuala Lumpur Airport in Malaysia. They were told exactly how to dress. One of them was told to wear a white t-shirt with the letters LOL on it. You know, like maybe that was branding for the prank channel or something. They were shown the target. They ran up. They smeared the stuff on his face. And then he died. This time, the baby oil had been replaced by the deadly nerve agent VX.
Oh, wow.
The prank victim was Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother of Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
Oh, snap.
The two women were apparently unknowingly carrying out an assassination on behalf of the regime.
They didn't even know what was going on.
Kim Jong-nam had been working with the CIA, apparently, and had been exiled from North Korea since 2003. They had apparently tried to take him out multiple times and finally succeeded by convincing two young women they were acting in a prank YouTube video.
That's crazy. They went that far. I could see it though. I could definitely believe it.
Years ago, the nation was shocked and overjoyed to hear that two missing children had been found alive.
Let's read this. It says, on December 4th, 1972, Steven Stainer was walking from school when he was abducted by Kenneth Parnell. In 72, y'all. Stainer proceeded to live as Parnell's son for 7 years. During this time, Parnell attempted to use Steven in other abductions, but Steven was uncooperative. But on February 13th, 1980, Parnell abducted another young boy, 5-year-old Timothy White. For weeks, Timothy cried, and hearing these cries, Stephen decided to do something about it. On the night of March 1st, 1980, Stephen took Timothy and escaped Parnell's house, making their way to a local police station. Stephen was finally reunited with his family the next day. He wasn't the boy they remembered, but a teenager now. He found it difficult to adjust and mostly kept his experiences to himself. Kenneth Parnell was sentenced to 7 years in prison, but was released due to good behavior only after serving 5. But in 2005, he was sentenced to life in prison after attempting another abduction. In 1989, Steven Stainer was unalived when he was struck by a car riding his motorcycle. Oh, that's unfortunate. In a disturbing twist, in August 2002, Steven's older brother, Kerry Stainer, was convicted of unaliving 3 people. He currently is on death row at California's San Quentin State Prison. Yo, that family has some stuff going on.
These are the most haunted places in Pakistan. Starting at number 4, Shah Dita Caves in Islamabad. This famous tourist spot in Islamabad is advised to only be visited at daytime. In Islam, Caves are known to be homes for jinns. Visitors have reported hearing shrill noises from within these caves, and the locals don't usually go anywhere near them. Number 3. Sheikhapura Fort in Lahore. Sheikhapura Fort is a historical fort located in the district of Lahore. The fort is currently in awful shape, and no one is willing to restore the site. But anyone who dares to go near the fort returns with fear and horror. It is said that the last queen that resided in the fort died there, and it has since been haunted. Number 2.
I believe in haunted places.
Palace in Karachi. This palace is ranked as the most haunted historical landmark in Pakistan. Today, this palace serves as a museum. The guards and the workers in this palace have experienced dreadful activities. They would see artifacts moving from their place. They would hear noises of people having a party inside. And they would be physically touched by unseen beings. Let alone, the staff always warn visitors not to come alone if they want to avoid an unwanted encounter. And finally, number 1. Karsaz Road in Karachi. The Bride of Karsaz is a horrific tale about a newlywed couple that died in a car crash on Karsaz Road. Since then, there have been several sightings of a bride dressed in red that lingers around the road. But it gets even more sinister. Several people have reported that a bride stands on the side of the road at night, signaling late-night travelers for help. Once they stop, the bride's face turns into something unearthly, almost like a decomposing body, and she chases them down. Eyewitnesses say that they were chased by the bride, with her running as fast as their cars. It's safe to say that Karsaz Road isn't the most welcoming place in Pakistan. You tell me, what country should I do next?
I don't know, but I don't want to have any of those encounters with any of them type of things.
This is a case of 4 University of Idaho students and how they were murdered in the middle of the night. 5 students lived in this house on King Road in Moscow, Idaho. On the first floor, we have roommate BF. On the second floor, we have roommate DM and 20-year-old Xana Kernodal. Lastly, on the third floor, we have 21-year-olds Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonsalves. On the night of Saturday, November 12, 2022, Maddie and Kaylee arrived to a bar called the Corner Club at around 10 p.m. They were there for a couple of hours, and then at around 1:40 in the morning, the two girls headed over to a local food truck to get some food. After this, they made their way back home and arrived at around 1:56 in the morning. Later that night, Kaylee posted this photo on Instagram with the roommates plus Xana's boyfriend Ethan Chapin, and she captioned it, "One lucky girl to be surrounded by these people every day." Now, as for Ethan and Xana's routine that night, they had gone to a house party nearby and had gotten back to the house at around 1:46 in the morning. Now, even though Ethan didn't live at the house, he decided to spend the night there with his girlfriend. So by 2 o'clock in the morning, all of the roommates plus Ethan were already at the house, either asleep or getting ready for bed. However, we do know that Xana remained awake.
There was one guy with all of these girls, like, that's a red flag right there. Not gonna lie.
For some time because at around 4 o'clock in the morning, she ordered a DoorDash order to be delivered to the house. Around that same time, roommate DM was woken up by the sound of what she thought was Kaylee playing with her dog Murphy up on the 3rd floor. A short time later, she heard who she thought was Kaylee say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." However, this also could have been Xana because her phone records show that she was on TikTok at around 4:12 in the morning. So after hearing someone say, "There's someone here," roommate DM looked outside her bedroom door, but she didn't see anything. Then, DM opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Xana's bedroom. She also heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Finally, DM opened her door a third time when she heard crying, and this time she saw something. She saw someone dressed in all black wearing a mask that covered their nose and their mouth walking towards her. He was a male, 5'10" or taller, not really muscular but athletically built, and had bushy eyebrows. This man just walked past DM as she stood frozen in place and headed over towards the back sliding glass door. After seeing this male, she quickly locked herself back inside her room. Later that morning at around 11:58 in the morning, either roommate BF or roommate DM called 911 and requested help for an unconscious person. And when police arrived to the scene, they found the deceased bodies of Xana Kernodal, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves. All 4 of them had been stabbed, and police believe that the murders happened somewhere between between 4 o'clock in the morning and 4:25 in the morning. During the investigation, police did find a shoe print outside of Diem's bedroom, and they also recovered a tan leather night sheet that was lying on the bed next to Maddie's right side. Through surveillance footage, police also discovered that a white sedan had passed by the house numerous times the night of the murders. Okay, more in part 2.
Yo, that is crazy. I did not expect that to go down. I ain't gonna lie. I was thinking like the guy went crazy and, you know, he was the one that did all this stuff. But apparently there was another person in there. And what kind of threw me off was when they said roommate DM seen a guy in all black coming towards her room. So she just locks her door. Doesn't say anything. And they say later on that day, someone decides to call 911 or later on in the morning. So that was a little bit confusing. I don't know if roommate DM told them to call 911 or what was going on. But man, you got to be careful out here for real.
Did you guys know that the movie The Hills Have Eyes is actually based on a true story, and the actual story is just as disturbing, if not more? So this story...
Yo, The Hills Have Eyes. Yo, I remember that movie. That movie was creepy. I'm talking about, oh my God. Trying to watch that as a child. Me and my brother. No way.
It takes us to a place called East Lothian in Scotland, and that's where we meet Sawney Bean. Sawney came from a very poor family, and his father was a ditch digger and a hedge trimmer. So naturally, his father expected his son to follow in his footsteps. However, Sawney ended up meeting a woman called Agnes Black, and a lot of people suspected her of being a witch, if not evil. Some people even claimed that she ate human flesh. So knowing that their relationship would never be approved, they decided to run away together. However, they went for a very alternative lifestyle. They were said to have started living in this cave here, and it's located on the Galloway coast in Scotland. And because this story took place in the 1600s, the couple were able to get away with a lot. Together, they ended up having 8 sons and 6 daughters, and all of those kids ended up producing 18 grandsons and 14 granddaughters.
That's a big family tree.
Basically, they were all breeding with each other. Now, because they were living in a very remote area, they basically had no human contact. Whenever they would see a human passing by the coast, they would attack them.
What's up, fam? So unfortunately, at this point in the video, my camera dies. However, I was still able to capture the audio. So yeah, we still have some more of this video to go. A lot of people have been complaining that my video is a little bit too big and to enlarge the TikToks on the video. So guess what? Today's your lucky day.
Now, at first, their goal was just to rob these people of whatever food and money and belongings they had, but soon it developed into something much darker. They not only started attacking men, women, and children, robbing them, but then they would take their bodies into their cave and devour them. It's estimated that the entire Bean family had well over 1,000 victims. However, one time, they ended up attacking a couple on horseback that was on the beat. And they went for the wife first, and the man was able to get away. But before he was able to get away, it was said that the family attacked the wife and basically disemboweled her, cut her throat open, and mutilated her entire body before taking her to their cave. Obviously, the husband, terrified, escapes and runs back to the village and reports everything to the king. That's when the king launches an investigation and hunts down the Bean clan. When they finally did find the cave, inside was a scene out of a horror movie. There was gold, watches, and clothing all over, but there was also pieces of human limbs hanging from the wall like dried beef. Because of the heinous crimes they had committed, it was said that they weren't given a trial, and the men had certain parts of their body cut off and then they were thrown into the fire. They also made the women and the young girls watch the men burn alive. Then when it came for their turn, they were simply just thrown into the fire. I have a slightly longer version of this on my YouTube channel, same username at HeebieJeebiesTV. Here's some better
Yo, they ain't play back in the day, did they? Wasn't no, hey, you finna go to trial, ain't no, you finna go to jail. We finna throw you in the fire. Plain and simple.
Of the Watts family ghosts caught on police body camera. The first video that you're gonna see
the Watts family ghosts
is going to be the one of a little girl running down the stairs.
Did y'all see anything? Dang, I don't know if I seen that. Okay, now I see it. Now that they paused it. am I missing? What was it? Yo, point it out. Point it out. Is it in the mirror? It was in the mirror, huh?
Oh my gosh. What in the world is that? Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. What in the world is that? Wow.
Hi. It's me. I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi.
Wow. You heard that?
Yes. Yes.
Now that's crazy. There's some weird sounds. Yo, I know y'all heard.
Obviously,
Whoa!
a ton of conspiracies
Whoa!
about Michael
Whoa!
Jackson.
Whoa!
But in my opinion,
That
one of the
scared
most
me.
interesting ones, if not
Not
a little
going to
ridiculous, is that this is what he actually looked like.
No way.
Hear me out. On January 27th, 1984, Michael
Wait,
Jackson...
they saying that person right there looked like the last person they just showed us. That's very hard to believe. I'm gonna need this video to be very convincing for me to believe that.
was shooting a Pepsi commercial at LA's Shrine Auditorium. Everything was going great until the sixth take when the pyrotechnics malfunctioned, causing his head to be engulfed by a fireball on camera in front of 3,000 fans. Now, he likely couldn't feel it at first, but as he made his way down the stairs onto the stage, it didn't take long for the stagehands to realize he was on fire. Aaron Faye, his hair and makeup artist at the time, said, quote, "This was someone I knew and he was on fire. By the time I got to him, all of his hair was gone and there was smoke coming out of his head." According to the hospital, Michael suffered second and third degree burns across his head and face. In 1992, the music video director that was filming his tour, Rudy Dolezal, was told that Jackson refused to appear on camera on days that he wasn't performing because
Mike
on
looked
those
crazy.
days he didn't have a nose.
I'm just saying.
Rudy went on to tell the New York Post that Jackson needed a prosthetic nose that took hours to put on using makeup and putty. 2002, rumors
Look at
were
his
running
nose.
rampant in the tabloids that what was left of Jackson's nose cartilage had completely collapsed. So what's the conspiracy, man? I couldn't figure out what it was used for, but there is footage of Michael Jackson being made up to look like an old man using makeup and prosthetics, and it's very convincing.
So this is supposed to be Mike Jackson
Then
right
there's
there?
also this Akon interview where Akon describes going to the movies with Michael Jackson and being shocked when he got there and a complete stranger walked up to him and started talking in Michael's voice because it was Michael, but he was absolutely unrecognizable. The theory being that nobody really knew what Michael Jackson looked like anymore because the Michael Jackson that was famous was just a mask. Now this is a real man named Dave. A victim of horrible burns when he was young, and Michael Jackson just kind of took an interest in him and took care of him. So at first when I was reading about this, I was like, okay, case closed, that's a different guy. But the theory points out that Dave suddenly became a lot more public and his appearance kind of changed after Michael Jackson's death, insinuating that Jackson didn't pass away in 2009, but instead resumed living under various assumed identities, easily fooling the world because nobody had really known what he looked like since the 80s.
I don't think that's Mike, but this is a crazy conspiracy. Y'all think that's Mike? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see him dance or hit a move or
Hit the link
something.
in my bio to watch hours of conspiracy theory content on my YouTube, and have a great week.
Yo, I don't know if that's Mike, guys. I'm gonna need him to hit a hee or something like that. You know, I need him to dance or hit the moonwalk or something. And then I would know, okay, that's Mike. Dave is Mike. But man, these are some scary true crime TikToks. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe, turn your notification bell on, and until next time, YouTube, peace.